Welcome back to Race for the White House. The back half now. I'm David Gregory. Sarah Palin used her own family as part of her message last night.
To the families of special needs children all across this country, I have a message for you. For years, you've sought to make America a more welcoming place for your sons and daughters. And I pledge to you that if we're elected, you will have a friend and advocate in the White House.
The 08 race making history and cracking the ceiling for women all over the country, starting with Hillary Clinton, of course, and now Governor Sarah Palin. The question tonight, how will Palin fare among women voters? Facing off on this question, Kim Gandy, president of the National Organization for Women. She is in Washington tonight, and Charmaine Yost, president of Americans United for Life, who joins us here in St. Paul. Welcome to both of you. Let me start, Charmaine. Here is what Gloria Steinem wrote in the Los Angeles Times today. Quote, Palin shares nothing but a chromosome with, she means Senator Clinton. Her down-home, divisive and deceptive speech did nothing to cosmeticize a Republican convention that has more than twice as many male delegates as female, a presidential candidate who is owned and operated by the right wing, and a platform that opposes pretty much everything Clinton's candidacy stood for and that Barack Obama's still does. To vote in protest for McCain-Palin would be like saying, someone stole my shoes, so I'll amputate my legs.
That's pretty outrageous. I think it's really an interesting spectacle to see the feminists going after Governor Palin like this, because she's been so terrific, and I think they're really threatened by the fact that she is a conservative instead of being a leftist, and that she doesn't toe the line on their radical agenda, particularly on the life issue. They're really, really upset that she's a pro-life, that she has such a strong record on that.
Fair enough. When you call it a radical agenda at the same time that the campaign is trying to reach those Hillary Clinton supporters, many of whom may share those views on abortion.
Well, you know what's really interesting, though, when you look at the polling data, I'm seeing stuff coming across my desk that shows that a very large percentage of Hillary supporters are pro-life. So I think it's really interesting when you talk about the women's vote. So many times we assume that it's this monolithic voice that supports abortion rights, but in actual fact, the vast majority of American women do support the pro-life agenda.
Kim Gandy, is Sarah Palin a feminist?
I think that if she identifies herself as a feminist, she probably is. But my guess is that she does not identify with the feminist movement. She's been promoted all summer long by Rush Limbaugh, who calls women's rights supporters feminazis. My guess is he wouldn't have been promoting Sarah Palin if she wasn't pretty well lined up with his views. And I'll take issue with what Charmaine just said. The majority of the American public supports not only Roe v. Wade, but supports access to contraception, to birth control, to family planning, to emergency contraception, and supports them very, very strongly. And they particularly, by an enormous, enormous margin, support access to abortion in cases of rape and incest. Even Cindy McCain supports access to abortion in those situations, but Sarah Palin doesn't.
Let me just get to something that she wrote as governor in 2006. Palin completed a questionnaire for the conservative Eagle Forum, where she laid out her views on several social issues. In particular, as for her views on abortion, Palin wrote, quote, I am pro-life with the exception of a doctor's determination that the mother's life would end if the pregnancy continued. I believe that no matter what mistakes we make as a society, we cannot condone ending an innocent's life.
And David, here's the thing. I don't want to get into dueling data with Kim, because she and I know this data really well, and it depends on how you ask people the question. Everybody knows that. But the thing that's really exciting about Governor Palin and her life record is that when she was in Alaska, one of the things that she was very strong on was parental notification for abortion. And this is the future of the life debate, is that that is a topic that polls 80% support from the American people. There are common sense things that we can come in agreement on, and that's what Governor Palin stands for, and that's why people are so excited about her. She's a down-to-earth, common sense, authentic, and genuine person that the mainstream of American people can come alongside.
Kim Gandy, Sarah Palin was also asked in this questionnaire to list her top 3 priorities for families in this 2006 Eagle Forum questionnaire, and this is how she answered. 1, creating an atmosphere where parents feel welcome to choose the venues of education for their children. 2, preserving the definition of marriage as defined in our Constitution. 3, cracking down on the things that harm family, gangs, drug use, and infringement of our liberties, including attacks on our Second Amendment rights. I want to ask a very narrow political question, which is, when you talk about the voters who supported Hillary Clinton, more culturally conservative Democrats, what about those answers does not match with how they feel?
You know, I think that the Hillary Clinton voters felt very strongly that she was speaking for them on issues that affected their lives and their pocketbooks. And that's an area where this ticket has absolutely promoted not one single item in terms of recovering from what George Bush has done to this economy. And in fact, what they're offering us is a lot more of the same. Barack Obama is offering middle-class tax cuts to, 85% of the working families in the entire United States. We're offered none of that by the McCain-Palin ticket. They're not only appealing to a very right-wing base with opposition even to birth control and opposition to family planning and opposition to abortion, even in the cases of rape, then you can't change the facts by interrupting me, Charmaine. The facts are the facts. This is a very, very extremist ticket that has no plans for us other than more of what we've gotten from George Bush. And I don't think anybody's ready for 4 more years of that.
Quick response, and I want to move on to a different area.
Yeah. Well, she's being outrageous in bringing up the whole birth control issue. There's no opposition to birth control in this platform. The thing that I thought was exciting about Governor Palin last night is she didn't have to talk about life. She talked so much about energy, and that's a woman's issue. It's a pro-family issue. Families this summer have been so stressed by the prices at the gas pump. So I think it's really exciting to see her going out there and talking about a whole host of issues and not defining herself in a narrow way as just a woman's candidate.
Let me ask you both a question. While the McCain campaign would like to quell this kind of debate, I suppose, these questions from coming up in the media, I'll describe an experience I had here in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I spoke to an self-described independent woman who said she was leaning toward McCain, but the choice of Palin turned her off, not because of her views on abortion, but because she thought with 5 kids, including a child of special needs, that she was assuming too much responsibility. Now, this could be a big debate among women who are trying to strike the right balance between careers and families. Is it an issue for debate, do you think, among voters?
I think it's fascinating, David, because people are just getting to know Governor Palin. I have 5 kids, so this debate this week has been so fascinating that people like Kim are the ones who are partially pushing this discussion. You know, Todd Palin is getting airbrushed out of the picture.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Kim had anything to do with my conversation with this voter the other day.
Okay, to be fair there. But what you're seeing a lot of, for example, on The View the other morning, feminist anchors there promoting this idea that perhaps it would be too much for her. You know, where is that coming from? From women's groups and people who are supposed to be women's advocates. You know, they've always been the ones who've been saying that women can take these great challenges. And everything that I'm hearing from the Palins is that the vice presidency and her public service is a family mission, and that Todd Palin is very, very involved in that. And so, you know, and even you quoted Gloria Steinem. She concludes her piece today talking about how we need to have men involved in the home, and yet that's exactly what Governor Palin is saying her husband is going to do. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
Kim, there are, of course, a lot of households where men are just as involved in raising the families, and in this case, here is a household where he's been doing that and will continue to do that in an even stepped-up way now that she'll be on the campaign trail.
I don't doubt that that's the case. I mean, clearly she has been able to serve as governor for the last almost 2 years with support from her husband, and I think she said her mother as well. You know, women and men figure out how to deal with their families when both of them have a career. And, you know, I think that that's part of our society. But I think it's interesting that it's the Republicans and the conservatives who have been pushing back against women being employed outside the home, against women having high-powered careers. But suddenly, when it's one of their own who's in that situation, then it's, oh no, you can't talk about this. Don't talk about her working outside the home when she has small children. There's a little bit of a double standard going on here, but I'm glad the Republicans have finally discovered sexism.
All right, I'm going to leave the debate there. I'm
Okay.
sure there's more to say on both sides of
We'll
this.
talk about it another time.
Yes, thank you both for being